What happened to Lady Rohanne Webber? Lady Rohanne is a character introduced in the second Dunk and Egg novella, The Sworn Sword. So as we know, Dunk was serving Sir Eustace Osgrey of Standfast when he discovers the stream has dried up. They find out a dam was built on the order of Lady Rohanne Webber of Coldmold. So Dunk goes to her castle to resolve the matter. There he finds out that the river was taken from House Osgrey by the king for supporting Daemon Blackfyre in the first rebellion. We also find out that Lady Rohanne has had 4 husbands, and that if she doesn't marry soon, all her lands will go to her cousin. By the end of the story, she's able to keep Coldmold after she marries Sir Eustace Osgrey, and this is the last we hear of Eustace. Nothing is mentioned of his death, but in the World of Ice and Fire book, we find out Lady Rohanne remarried Gerald Lannister, who previously had been one of her suitors, even sending her love letters from Casterly Rock. But at that point, the Lord of Casterly Rock was his older brother Tybalt. So, all the events described in the Sworn Sword occur in 211 AC. Well, the very next year, in 212 AC, this Tybalt Lannister, despite being a young man in his prime, died under suspicious circumstances, and his 3-year-old daughter Sorrel succeeded him as Lady of Casterly Rock, with Gerald serving as her regent. But less than a year later, she also died, and Gerald succeeded her. He soon proved himself to be an able and fair-minded lord, greatly increasing his wealth and power. All this led to the rumors that he had murdered his own niece, and some of the lords also believed he had killed his brother Tybalt. Although the date of the marriage between Lady Rohanne and Lord Gerald is unknown, we can speculate that it happened anywhere during 211 and 219 AC, since their first son Tywald is calculated to have been born around that time. I think they most likely got married in 211 or 212 AC, which would mean that soon after the events of the Sworn Sword, Sir Eustace dies, or perhaps is killed by Lady Rohanne in order to finally marry Gerald, now that he had become Lord of Casterly Rock. Or maybe they plotted together to murder Sir Eustace, Lord Tybalt, and his little daughter. Gerald Lannister was known to be quick-witted and exceedingly clever. Keep in mind that in the Sworn Sword, before Lady Rohanne married Sir Eustace, the small folk had already been accusing her of murdering her husbands, and being a witch who sold her unborn babies to the Lord of the Seven Hells, so that he would teach her the black arts. Now these may be just rumors, but it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for George to have a woman using unborn baby magic to have people killed. But all this leads me to something that I didn't even know for a long time, that after over 10 years into their marriage, in the year 230 AC, Lady Rohanne Webber disappears under mysterious circumstances, and she is never mentioned again. I'm not really sure what actually happened to her, but I think the prime suspect is Ellen Rain. Lady Ellen was the hot-tempered daughter of the Lord of Castamere, Robert Rain. For years, she dreamed of not only marrying into the wealthy House Lannister, but of also making herself the Lady of Casterly Rock. She was already arranged to marry Tywald Lannister, the eldest son and heir of Lord Gerald and Lady Rohanne. But both her betrothed and her father died during the Peak Uprising in 233 AC. Before Tywald died, his final words to his twin brother Tion, now the heir of House Lannister, was, "Take care of Lady Ellen." Tion was already married to another woman, but he was seduced and convinced by Ellen to marry her instead. His father Lord Gerald opposed this match, but with grief, age, and illness, he eventually let his son follow his heart, and they married in 235 AC. With Lord Gerald twice a widower and refusing to marry again, Ellen became the Lady of Casterly Rock in all but name. But the next year, Tion died in the 4th Blackfyre Rebellion. Surprisingly, the death of his second-born woke a new strength in Lord Gerald, and he took a firm hold of the Westerlands once more, and did all he could to prepare his third-born son Tytos to succeed him. Tytos was the father of Tywin, so this would of course make Lady Rohanne Tywin's grandma, and great-grandmother to Cersei, Jaime, and Tyrion. After the death of her husband, Lady Ellen remained at the Rock, but her influence faded away to nothing in favor of the wife of Tytos. About 3 years later, Lady Ellen is accused of trying to bed Tytos and urging him to leave his wife and marry her. But the young Tytos, intimidated by his brother's widow, ran to his wife and confessed what had just happened. Word soon reached Lord Gerald. Furious, he quickly arranged the marriage between her and the Lord of Tarbeck Hall. Ellen Rain, now Lady Tarbeck, finally left Casterly Rock. Ellen gave Lord Tarbeck 2 daughters and a son. Just to spite Lord Gerald, she named them Rohanne, Sorel, and Tion. So with someone like Lady Ellen, who continuously kept trying to become the Lady of Casterly Rock, I think it's possible her first attempt was somehow getting rid of Lady Rohanne. Perhaps having her abducted and murdered, and then asking her father to arrange a marriage, but then Lord Gerald, full of grief, instead agreed to arrange a marriage between her and his first son and heir, Tywald. Maybe Sir Duncan is somehow also involved. Perhaps after she gets abducted, Sir Duncan attempts to save Lady Rohanne, but she ends up getting killed. Who knows what George has in mind. I hope the full story of the disappearance of Lady Rohanne is told in a future Duncan Egg book, but I think Lady Ellen's lifelong ambition to take her place as Lady of Casterly Rock is a clue to her disappearance. Of course, Lady Ellen, many years after becoming Lady Tarbeck, rose in rebellion against House Lannister along with her older brother Roger Rayne, the Lord of Castamere, in what was known as the Rayne-Tarbeck Revolt, during which a trebuchet from the Lannister forces threw a great boulder onto Tarbeck Hall's keep, bringing the castle down upon Ellen and her son Tion.